Okay, great. So again, so Siman Reish Mem Halacha Zayin. Lo yishamish b'tchilas halayla v'lo b'sofa. A person shouldn't be together with his wife b'tchilas halayla v'lo b'sofa, not the beginning of the night, at the end of the night. Kadesh leyishma kol b'nei Adam, because there are people around at that time, sort of in the beginning of the night and the end of the night, which is like early morning, and he may hear kol b'nei Adam, the voice of people. And that will perhaps make him think of another woman, and therefore, and that which we said is not allowed. Rather, they should be together in the middle of the night. Now says the Mishnah Berurah, but if a person finds that his yetzer is sort of is miskaber on him, the Achronim says Mishmur say you shouldn't be worried about that. Okay, says the Mechaber Ches v'yishamish be'ema v'yira. So this is the Gemara in Nedarim. V'yishamish be'ema v'yira. A person should be when Tashmish Hamit is happening, it should be be'ema v'yira with a certain or Kamesh Amra Rabbi Elazar. The famous case of Rabbi Eliezer that he would sort of reveal a tefach and then cover a tefach. And there are many pshatim what exactly that means. The Gemara says that it's as if a demon is sort of is over him, forcing him to do this. Pirush, that is the aim on the yira. That is if he's being forced by the shade to proceed. There are those who explain that there's not that much friction. That's what Rabbi Eliezer means, to reduce his hana. As if the shade is forcing him against his will. Others explain, no, that sort of they're minimizing the exposure, as it were. That the actual maisa is not long. As if the shade is scaring him, and then he's leaving the maisa. So it's sort of talking about the length of the duration of tashmish. That is reducing the time. Others say no, different pshat in this Gemara. But yesh mefarshim tefach al sinah shoyse chageres, where we're talking about the exposing the body parts. She'af b'shas tashmish hoy matzricha lechagra, u'megale rak tefach v'meno mechasa miyad kadei lemayat hana osay. That is sort of covering up immediately afterwards again kadei lemayat hana osay. For kulo perusha isnu, all different explanations of this Gemara. V'tzarich bal nefesh lizoy bohem, that a bal nefesh should be careful about them. Okay, Ches. I am Morgan Avram. This is in Sivkot Lamed Hey. I am Morgan Avram. Mashe Kosov Bezem. V'tzorich Kosva Taisus. This is a Taisus in Nidr Yud Zayin. B'Shem HaMedrash. Hakadosh Baruch Hu Seine HaMeshamish Aram. Hakadosh Baruch Hu hates a person who is Meshamish Aram, undressed, v'Dafka Aram Mamish, fully undressed. Mishum Diyesh Le'Odom Li'Yosonua. Ava im Mechasa Atzum El Malo. If he's putting some sort of cover, a sheet, a blanket, or something over him, then there's no concern whatsoever. Okay, Tess. Lo yisapeh imo b'dvarim she'enu minyonei hatashmish. At the time of tashmish, he shouldn't be talking to her about other matters. Lo b'shas tashmish v'lo kodem lochem, not during or not before. Shelo yitin daita b'isha acheres, because we're worried that his mind might stray to think of another person. But if he's talking to her and then he's meshamish, amrolov magid la'odem masichai. That the Gemara says that a person will be told after 120, they sort of repeat some of the inappropriate comments that he makes. That even the sort of the sicha kala, the light conversation between a man and his wife, is sort of repeated b'shas hadin. Now it says the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Cotton Lamed Zayin, if there's some sort of animosity between them, Mutar l'sapa imo mitchila al kol divrei ritzu kadei lefaisa. That on the contrary, then it's important to talk to her beforehand lefaisa chud lekame, like we're going to say soon. Lamed ches meinyone. Sometimes even matters that do relate to tashmish, you should not talk mitchila. That if he's a very hot-blooded person, that he might come to be mashkezer before tashmish, then that is a concern if they're talking about inyoni tashmish. So they should avoid that. Okay, Yud. There's no Mishnah Berurah on this, but it says the Mishnah Berurah says in the Chaba, if there's some sort of argument between the couple, also it's forbidden to be together until he appeases her and they've sort of resolved their differences. And there, to talk to her before Tashmish is appropriate because he's being Mesapeh, he's being Meratza, being Mefayasa in order to get rid of the Kas. Okay, Yud Aleph. Also l'shamish le'or haneh. It's forbidden to be together be'or haneh when there is light in the room. Afal pi shemapa b'talisa, even if he is sort of covering over with his talis, with his blanket. Avalim oisem mechitzu kuvei asor lifnei haneh. If they put some sort of halachic mechitza next to the candle, next to the light, afal pi she'or nira derech mechitza, even though it's a halachic wall and therefore it's, it doesn't have to be that high, and therefore there is still illumination in the room. Derech mechitza, over the mechitza. You, or for example, you cover the lights with some sort of covering. Shari, that would be okay. Ken near limit of Rashi beperik base, but meseches beitz adaf chof base. Okay. Gamam rinan halsam the shari k'shekoifa kli alaneh. If you're covering the candle or the lamp or whatever, then that would be okay. Are you allowed to make such a mechitza, a halachic mechitza on Shabbos? Ein lekaman reish siman shin tesvav. That's coming up in Hilchos Shabbos. V'chein also l'shamish by yoim, says the Machaba, elim kein who buys off unless the room is dark. Says the Ramah Hagov, Talmud Chacham ape b'talisa v'shari. However, Talmud Chacham can just sort of put a blanket over, and that would be okay. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Kotan Lamates la'or haneh. Even if the illumination is minimal, the candle is in some sort of tube, in some sort of cover, that is still sort of, it's only, it's covered by some sort of lantern, and there's no mechitza. Also, even if the moon is very bright and it's coming through the window and is illuminating the room, that would also be also. Only so long as it's illuminating very brightly into their room. It's not on them. It's sort of somewhere else. Even if it's sort of illuminating the house, then muta. Again, one should sort of cover the blanket so that it's not too much brightness and light. If it's outdoor, even if they're in the shade of the moonlight, even if there's a mechitza around them, because if there's no mechitza, then it certainly is forbidden. Okay, Sif Kotan Mem, mechitza gavoya asara. Now the mechitza we're talking about is a mechitza gavoya asara. It's a halachic mechitza. A mairi shekosha oisam milmatzo, so it's firm. You've tied the mechitza at the bottom. Shelo yonud beruach matzuya, that it doesn't move around in the ruach matzuya. Dilav hachi ein din mechitza oleh, because otherwise, then it's not a mechitza. Afal pisha ha'or nira, Sif Kotan Mem Aleph, v'uadin im ha'or nira lemalo. Now, if you put a mechitza there and there's a lamp on the other side, then of course it's going to illuminate the room. So that doesn't matter. Shari, given she mechitza kumur, because it's a proper halachic mechitza. So long as they are under the blanket. Because otherwise, if the room is fully illuminated, that then it's no different mibayom. Because otherwise there will be light in the room. Okay, derech mechitza, that it's the light is coming over the mechitza. acher umeir lecheder zeh. If there's a light on another room which is sort of coming through to the bedroom, the shari. Because of b'chacham usaltin mikomakom tzorech hafei talis, that in all situations, therefore, it's better to be under the blankets. Keshekoifa kli ein lekamon b'soif siman reish ein zayin b'taz or mishnah berurah sham. Okay, b'yoyim. So the Mechaber said that it's also to be that it also lashon. It's also mem daled. V'chein also l'shamish b'yoyim. Yeah, the Mechaber said v'chein also l'shamish b'yoyim. So why? Says the Mishnah the ein zeh derech snius. V'talmid chacham shehu tzonua b'drocha v'lo yav v'listakel. Al kein muta al idei afela betalis, then we're covering the blanket is okay. All of this is ein miskabe yitzur olov, but miskabe yitzur olov, then it's okay. It's important to note that in Reish Mem, these appear sort of quite extreme, right? And there's big discussion about what is the nature of Siman Reish Mem. There are different approaches. I know that some are quite strict about it, and when I did my training as a chosen teacher with a very choshev dayan, he told me not to teach Reish Mem. He said this is not that this is. I don't know if he meant it's not halacha l'maisa. This is eitz tova, or this is begeder she'ein yitzra megaber alav, and we're talking on sort of much loftier levels. But either he told me b'pem mole to not teach Reish Mem. That's okay. So the different approaches. Everyone should be asking their own das Torah exactly how to conduct themselves. Okay, let's carry on. Yud beis also l'shamish mitasa b'shnei ra'avoin. The husband and wife should not be together in times of famine, unless they haven't yet been mekayim the mitzvah of pruruvu, pirush misha ein lebonim, and therefore that would be okay. He says the Ramah, va'ayin lekamon siman tov kuf ayin daled sif daled, v'hu adin b'shat tzorah shehein b'ra'ovein. It doesn't necessarily only mean a famine, but other times of distress. Says the Mishnah Berurah Memvov. In a time of famine, although the halacha says that it's also to be mishamish mitosei, that's why the sources with Yosef HaTzadik. The Gemara says that his two sons, Menashe and Ephraim, were born before the famine started. So Rashi brings in Chumash that you see from here, b'shasra ovim, in the time of famine, that they should not be together. However, says the Mishnah Berurah, if you've got a menvav, im yitzra miskabe olov, yesh chashash yolid hashchos zera kosav ali rabbi shem sefer divrei David b'siman tov kuf ayin daled lahakel v'chein kosav b'sefer beis me'el le'evan ha'eza. So even b'shas ra'oven or other times of tzara, in situations of yitzra miskabe, then it's okay to be together. She'ein lebonim, and that only applies to someone who's not yet been mekayim mitzvah peruvu. Rotzolema shelo kiyim adayin peruvivya, says Mishnah Berurah. Lochein afilu yesh lebonim ein lo adayin bas muta. So you could have boys but not yet girls, he's not yet been mekayim for peruvu, then it would be muta b'shas ra'ovein. Va'ayin lekaman siman tov kuf ayin daled rotzolema the matir sham hamachaber begam belel tefila, that there in Hilchos Tanis, I think it is, that it's muta in b'shas ra'ovein and lel tefila va'ayin sham ba'achronim. Okay, Yud Gimel. Achsanoi also l'shamish. If a person is a guest somewhere, then he cannot be together with his wife in that house. However, if they have a designated house, which the Mishnah Berurah says even a designated room, then mutter, however, so long as they're not sleeping on the blankets or the sheets or whatever of the balabayis. It explains the Mishnah Berurah in Sif Memtes, achsanoi, a guest, hainu afilu kishabnei abayis kulim yishenim, even if all the residents of the home people are sleeping. In other words, it's a private area. The host is not around there. They've got their own designated area. Like as if he's the balabais of his room, of his designated area, so therefore he's not in that area, he's not a guest. Even just a designated room. But talisa shel balabais, Shema Yira Keri Olav, because the concern is that maybe that the host, when they're later clearing up the room, they'll see the Keri on the sheets. That's not appropriate. If a person is sleeping in a room where there is a man and a wife in that same room, even if the woman, the wife of the husband, is a nida, and therefore there's not a concern that the husband and wife are going to be together, then it's still not appropriate for someone to sleep in the room with a husband and wife who are in the same room. And that is all brought in the Chidushim of Rabbi Akiva. I think we can finish off quickly. It's all quite quick, the rest of it. Let's just finish off. Yudalet. Shichva zera hu koyach haguf u'ma'er hinayim. Shichva zera is considered the strength of the body and the sight of the eyes, and therefore, if a person indulges too much in tashmish haguf kolav v'chayav b'ovdim, then his body will wither and his life will be lost. V'chol hashotaf b'vila, and someone who is very indulgent in bila, zikna kafetzes, old age will creep up on him quickly. The koichi toshish, and his strength will wane. The ein of chaos, and his eyes will dim. The reach ra noidef epiv, and a bad breath will come from his mouth. The roshe, the gabas ein of risa, ein of neshim, and hair from his head and his eyebrows, etc. And eyelashes will fall out. And the rest of the hair on his body will thin. V'shin of noishres, and his teeth will fall out. V'harbe ka'evim chutz me'elu boim olav, and other medical problems will come on him. Amr chachmeinu harofim echad me'elef meis mishachalom. 1 in 1,000 die from regular illness. For elef me'rov tashmish, but the majority die from rov tashmish. Lefichich tzarich adam lizah. Therefore, the person should be careful of this. Okay, no Mishnah Berurah on that. Tesvov lo yivov hu surveyav oirav. The person should not be involved in beila if he is over-satiated, is very full. Oirav is very hungry. The person that we wait for the food to digest. V'lo yivol ma'umad v'lo ma'yushav, not standing or sitting. Not in the bathhouse or in the antechamber to it. V'lo b'yom hakozeh, not on a day when he lets blood. V'lo b'yom yitzir l'derech or b'biyah min haderech, nor on a day when he's going out to travel or coming back from travel. The obvious question is, earlier in the simon we said, when he's traveling, on the contrary, there is an obligation to be together. That and that's when if he's traveling on the back of a carriage or a train or a car or a plane, where he's going by foot on a long journey, that we're worried that Bila will be mateshes koiche, and that will put him in sakona if he is traveling by foot. Says Mishnah Berurah and Gimel, v'lo b'yom hakozeh mishe cholo. V'nisrape, someone who is ill and he's got better, he should take care from being together with his wife until he's fully better, because it will weaken him further. And he won't know himself exactly the situation. But mahalich, so there we're talking about a person who's walking, or Magen Avram Kosov to kan arim mitzat harefua. Basif Aleph Mari Mehadin. Okay, so a different answer the Magen Avram gives. The Teda, the whole Ka'amanami, the Lo Bayoim, Shenichnas the Merchatz, Velo Lifnei Velo Lachreim, not on the day when he goes to the bathhouse, V'yodua, the mitzvah Lichras B'chal Erev Shabbos. Now that's a problem because we know that it's a mitzvah to go to the bathhouse in Erev Shabbos. So that means, that seems to contradict that V'ayinus Tamid Chacham Mishabbos LeShabbos. So how does that work? And therefore, this seems to be this is a medical issue, and that is the concern. A person who goes to the toilet, to the bathroom, it's a proper bathhouse. A person shouldn't be involved in tashmish immediately after going to the bathroom and where we're talking about gedolim. I think that's what the Gemara is talking about. Gedolim, it's much from here. The Gemara is gedolim anketanim. V'chein kosov gam b'seida hayom b'shem hazoya eladu kosov shlei shamish mitosa kol eisa shah. V'ayim basically other Ephraim. The gam kavonas hazoya lav dafka shah mamish elarot saloma zman ma. Sometime afterwards, ayin sham. Kosov bedek habayis b'shem hazoya. Ve'viu achreinim. A feeding mother should only be together with her husband when the baby is asleep. And she needs to wait some time after she finishes feeding, after tashmish, before she feeds again. And if the child is crying, then then she can wait less. If a woman delays going to the mikveh to annoy or to aggravate her husband, it's a serious avera v'geremes kamerois, as says the Zohar. Kosav v'sefer Chasidim, also lahaske Hashem, v'chol dov shebedusha k'shadayin shechva zera olav, rak yishtef mayim al mekom shetin v'atzmei. He should wash himself off before saying any dov shebedusha. V'kosav asforim shetamid ye'etzal mitoso kli mayim that there should be some water always next to his bed. So he can wash his hands before and after tashmish. He should be careful not to boil in that situation. It could affect the kids. Even if she's pregnant and therefore she's not going to become pregnant now because she's already pregnant, then there may be other concerns. Bad spirits. That's what the Arizal says. You shouldn't put a sefer on the bed where she's sleeping. Okay, that was Tes Vov. Let's just read Tes Zayin Zayin. Tes Zayin, there's no Mishnah Berurah on it, but the Mechaber says, a person is, the Tashmish takes place where on a bed where there is a tinuk sleeping on that bed. That tinuk could be in medical danger, it could get epilepsy. Whatever nichbe is. That's only if he wasn't 1 year old. If he's 1 year old or older, less lombo, there's no concern. Where you're facing the feet of the bed. But if the child is facing or they're in the same direction, I think less lombo, there's no concern. That's when you don't put your hand on the child. Less lombo. If you put your hand on the child, then again there is no concern. Okay, Yud Zayin, mitzvah sheyoshin bo im ishtei, a bed where you sleep on the bed with one's wife. They should try and face the bed in the direction of north-south. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Ayin Le'el b'simin gimel sivov of Mishnah Berurah Sham. Okay, that is the end of Reish Mem. Reish Mem Aleph takes a few minutes. Let's just quickly do it, then we're finished. Is that okay? Reish Mem Aleph. Sheloi lahashtin oraim lifnei mitasei. One of the things HaKadosh Baruch Hu hates is Hamashtin b'fnei mitasei orim. He urinates in front of his bed orim. Hamashtin. All right, you know what? I think we'll leave it for tomorrow because we're running a bit late because there is Mishnah Berurah which we need to talk about there. Okay, we'll do this tomorrow, Mishnah, and then we'll do the Hakdama for Chelik Gimel. We can do that over Thursday and Friday, so we'll start properly on Monday with the Siman Reish Mem Beis. Okay.